A historical marker stands on Atlanta Highway, near the spot where, in 1818, General Andrew Jackson, his staff, and 2 companies of militia rested for a night at Young's Tavern above Flowery Branch, Georgia. At the age of 18, John Bowman served as a volunteer courier for General Jackson's staff during the First Seminole War of 1816 to 1819. He was with them when they spent the night at Young's Tavern. At the corner of Sardis Church Road and West Rock Quarry Road Northeast, near Beaufort, Georgia, sits the Bowman Pirkle house. Few people probably even notice the corner or the house sitting on it. New construction has taken place near the house. New houses are built. People are making new neighborhoods. This is the story of a family, a house, and a church. A different neighborhood, a different time. Major Ridge enters the picture. John Bowman was born in 1798 in North Carolina. While at Young's Tavern, Mr. Bowman met and visited with Major Ridge, apparently at some length. Mr. Bowman had ideas about how the Cherokee tribe should become more like the white man for the 2 groups to get along. Major Ridge was a Cherokee chief who gained notoriety for his role in the ceding of Cherokee land in Georgia to the United States. He signed the Treaty of New Echota with the United States in 1835. With the signing of this unauthorized treaty, Major Ridge was accused of giving away Cherokee land in exchange for the opportunity to move to Oklahoma and start life over. The Trail of Tears was directly attributed to Major Ridge by the Cherokees, who lost 4,000 out of 16,000 people removed to Oklahoma in the late 1830s. Mr. Bowman was originally respected by the Cherokee Indians because of his attempts to assimilate the Cherokee into the white man's world. This was the way Major Ridge believed the Cherokee should react to the growing number of white men overtaking their land. In return for the discussion with John Bowman at Young's Tavern, Major Ridge gave a large Cherokee-owned tract of land to him. At this time, Mr. Bowman left the service of General Jackson. In 1818, at age 20, John Bowman and 4 Cherokee Indians who Mr. Bowman borrowed from Major Ridge built the large 2-story log house we know today as the Bowman Pirkle House. In the late 1830s, the Cherokee Indians were forced off their land in Georgia and relocated to the Indian Territory. John Bowman continued to live in the house from 1818 to 1890 at the time of his death. Around 1822, John Bowman married Mary Smith. The land the house was originally constructed on was located on a tract spreading over Gwinnett County's northern tip and extending into southern Hall County. This land is now in the middle of Friendship Road, which originally was called Pirkle Ferry Road. John Bowman gained the title of doctor after he learned about herbal medicine from the Indians. He had planted his herbs by a stream located about a mile from his house. The stream came to be known as Medicine Hollow. Dr. Bowman treated both Indians and whites. He was well respected in the field of herbal medicine. He used, among other herbs, feverwort, golden seal, saltbush, partridge berry, skunk cabbage, yellow dock, geranium, cattail, blackberry, wild rose, common sumac, greenbrier, and mint. Over time, Dr. Bowman developed a large, practically self-sufficient plantation which included his herb garden. A well house, which is a covered structure built around the top of a well, was moved from its original location along with the outhouse and log house itself. The well house was constructed of stone. The original well was most likely circular in shape and dug deep enough to reach the underground water supply. The pulley for the well has survived, as has the well house. A rope attached to a pulley lets you lift the water in the bucket up the center of the well without the risk of falling into the well. No longer used as a well house, when moved to its current location, the structure was covered by the wood beams. Wells were family's main source of clean water. There were no bathrooms in use at the time. A person was forced to wash and drink from and add water to cooking pans using the well water. No running water flowed inside the house. Which brings up the outhouse. It was an experience to visit an outhouse, especially in the night. No one wanted to go out to use this little room after dark. The inside was unlit and felt creepy to close the door, sealing in the darkness to use this toilet. Insects, snakes, opossum, raccoons, rodents, or any manner of other living creature could be hiding in there. There was no light by which to see what might be lurking in the outhouse. To use an outhouse is an experience everyone should have at least once in his or her lifetime. When you look at the Bowman Pirkle house today, it is amazing how intact the house is after its many physical moves. The outhouse and well house are no longer in use, but they represent an important facet of life in the 1800s. Mary and Dr. Bowman had one daughter named Amanda. A young man named Noah Pirkle had served in the Confederate Army, Company A, 11th Georgia Regiment, under Captain Bedell. When Sherman burned Atlanta, General John B. Gordon sent some men to defend Athens, Georgia. Their efforts kept the Federal troops from burning Athens. For 3 days, the Federal troops attempted to cross the east branch of the Oconee River. They suffered heavy casualties and decided to retreat. Noah Pirkle was one of the defending Confederate soldiers. They surrounded a large group of Federal troops, took them prisoner, marched them for 3 days, and then rested at Dr. Bowman's house. The Federal prisoners were placed in the horse lot for safekeeping. 17 men, including Pirkle, were assigned to sentinel duty through the night. Early the next morning, Dr. Bowman invited the Confederate men in for breakfast. When they had finished breakfast, Noah Pirkle looked at Amanda Bowman, who was helping to serve the table, and said, "You are beautiful. If I am still alive when the war is over, I am going to come back and marry you." He kept his promise. They were married in 1867 and moved to the Bowman Pirkle house in 1890 after John Bowman's death. At that time, Amanda returned to her childhood home and stayed there until her death in 1926. The house stayed in the family until 1969, at which time it was given to the Hall County Historical Society by Dr. Bowman's descendant, Golden Bowman. On August 14, 1973, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. To accomplish moving the house, it had to be disassembled, physically moved, and reassembled. In 1977, Dr. Bowman's great-grandson donated the house to Gwinnett County, where it was again moved to the Lanier Museum of Natural History. Robert Bowman was honored for relocating and preserving the home. It now sits on the private land at Sardis Church Road and West Rock Quarry Road. The back doors of this home served as a pathway to the well house, outhouse, and the rest of the plantation. Most people used the back entrance to enter and exit the house unless leaving the plantation on business. The back of the home was not as fancy as the front of the house. The back porch was not extended to the second story of the house like the porches on the front of the house were. The back porch was used to store boxes filled with food and other items. Wood for the fireplace could also be stacked on the back porch. As I look at the back of the house, I think about the romance of Amanda Bowman and Noah Pirkle. The kitchen was most likely located in the back of the house. I can just imagine the Confederate men sitting around breakfast after completing their sentinel duty over the Federal troops they held prisoner in the horse lot. I can see Amanda Bowman working to feed the men, maybe paying attention to Noah Pirkle a bit more than the others. When he spoke to her, she most likely blushed slightly, feeling the weight of his gaze upon her. She would have felt less than beautiful as she brushed a strand of hair from her face while handling the plates and dishes for breakfast. A romance built in the most unlikely of places was certainly budding in this crowded kitchen. The fireplace was essential in a house built in 1818. It provided heat, multiple fires for cooking and baking, and was the central gathering place for families. As you can see from the outside, this fireplace was built with stone, as was the well house. More than likely, these were constructed using river rocks held together and stacked upon one another using Georgia red clay. An ornate fireplace was the masterpiece of a house such as in this two-story home. A log house built in the early 1800s would have been a fairly simple task for 4 to 5 men working together as Mr. Bowman and the Cherokee Indians did. First, log houses required few tools: the splitting maul and froe, which is a splitting tool, and lumber, so resources needed to build one were easy to come by. The froe was used to split the boards which became the structure of the home. Secondly, the building process was relatively simple. For a single man, it would only take a week or 2 to build a one-room cabin. With 3 or more men, as in this case, it could be done in just a couple of days. Trees were chopped down, trimmed, and then dragged to the home site. Then the logs were notched and put together with the chimney and fireplace. Roof shingles would be cut also using the froe. Because of the weight of the logs, a lone man could build a cabin only about 7 or so logs high, but with a team of men it was possible to build a 2-story log home. These log homes, such as the Bowman Pirkle house, often lasted several generations, making them reliable shelters. This home has certainly lasted past its use as a habitable home, yet it still stands for us to see and admire. We can appreciate the 200-plus-year-old home today. Stone steps led up to the front porch and the front door. They were constructed much like the fireplace and well house, unlikely to deteriorate with age. These steps would have provided a strong foundation for anyone entering the house from the front. They also serve as the foundation for the entire house, providing a good open crawl space beneath the house. In 1825, the Bethlehem United Methodist Church was founded by John and Mary Bowman. The church initially met in a brush arbor until a log building was constructed. A bell used for signaling the times for people to gather at the church survives today. John Bowman became a Methodist minister in 1840. In 1870, a wood frame church was completed. Noah Pirkle, Reverend Bowman's son-in-law, and John Robert Pirkle, his grandson, purchased additional land and began construction of a rock masonry at the spring, which supplied fresh water to the community. The present church building one can see today was completed in 1995. Today the graves tell us the locations of John Bowman, his first wife Mary, Amanda, and Noah Pirkle. The inscription on Reverend Bowman's grave says, "His toils are past, his work is done, he fought the fight, the victory won." It is fitting that the Bowman and Pirkle families would rest in the cemetery of the church founded by Dr. Bowman and his wife. It is a quiet, secluded spot, much like the current location of the Bowman Pirkle house itself. When you drive by the house at the corner of West Rock Quarry Road Northeast and Sardis Church Road Northeast, remember the legacy of this fine old house and family. It represents a time long ago, but certainly not one easily forgotten. Consider the personal stories of John and Mary Bowman and Amanda and Noah Pirkle. These were living people with histories, dreams, aspirations, vocations, and very real lives. Don't forget them. Don't forget your own family, as it is making memories for you to enjoy today and reminisce about in the future. God bless you all. As the inscription on Amanda Pirkle's grave marker states, God gave, He took, He will restore, He doeth all things well.